Hi students, we will be taking up for discussion today lesson number 13 of the SBEC module, which is about the various initial registration and licenses required by any person or any body corporate. So let's begin. The first basic requirement for any person or any body corporate who is starting a business will be to obtain a PAN number. What is a PAN number? The full form is a permanent account number, which is a very vital document for any taxpayer. For any taxpayer, it is necessary to obtain a PAN number. Okay, it is a 10-character alphanumeric number, and its requirement is listed in the, it is coming from the Income Tax Act of 1961. What does a PAN card look like? So it looks something like this. It's a blue color card. It has a photograph and it has a 10-digit alphanumeric number, which is your PAN number. It has the applicant's name, applicant's father name, date of birth, and specimen signature. So it is issued to every taxpayer. It is mandatory to obtain such PAN card. Now, it also works as an identity proof. You know, wherever, if you go somewhere and they ask you for an ID proof, the first thing that you would give them would be a PAN card. Any body corporate doing any business in India requires a PAN card, whether it is registered in India or abroad. Anyone doing any business in India requires a PAN card. Okay. Also, anybody who is involved in generating money out of India, whether the company is registered or has a permanent establishment or office in India, will have to have a PAN card. Now, these are the various list of bodies which are required to hold PAN card in India. Body corporates, companies, firms, LLPs, one-person companies, sole proprietorship, trust, corporations, limited liability companies, other association, foreign individual investor, hedge fund. So basically all kinds of body corporates. Any person who is going to pay tax, who is going to do business in India is required to obtain a PAN number. What is the significance of PAN for setting up a business? It is governed by the Income Tax Act 1961 as mentioned earlier. The act was subsequently amended and one new section was inserted by the Finance Act, which requires that all foreign parties have to provide or generate payment to a counterpart in India to provide their PAN number. So any foreign party also, if it is dealing with any person in India, then they will also have to obtain a PAN number. In the absence of PAN, if you don't obtain a PAN, government will charge withholding tax, which is a tax which will be at a very high rate. Then PAN serves as a reference number of its holder for the Income Tax Department to track the financial transactions carried out in. So the IT department, the Income Tax Department, it will track all your financial transactions by way of your PAN number. Even if you are not required to pay any tax, there are certain slab rates. If your income is more than that, you would have studied in tax, then only you are liable to pay tax. However, even if you are earning money and you don't have to pay tax, still you have to have a PAN number. Companies, regardless of whether they are registered in India or abroad, are required to pay tax for the businesses carried out in India. Without PAN, the government has mandated to deduct tax at a high rate possible. Then PAN helps an individual to pay for his invoices, remittances, and is also required to mention in the income tax return. Also, it has any person has to mention the PAN number. Similarly, the companies, they are required to obtain tax registration number to whomever is paying them. A TRN can be obtained only when a company has PAN. So a prerequisite for a company to have a tax registration number is to have a PAN number. Application and registration of PAN. The application for PAN can be made online, and also the request can be made to make changes in the PAN number. And how do you apply online? Either on the NSDL portal or on this UTI TSL portal. Okay, you have to apply for PAN card, and if the PAN card is to be dispatched outside India, then fees of 1020 rupees is applicable. And if it has to be dispatched anywhere in India, then 110 rupees is payable. Once the application and payment is accepted, the applicant is required to send the supporting documents through courier or post. So then the physical documents have to be submitted to these authorities. Indian citizens have to make PAN card application in form 49A, and foreign citizens in 49AA. In case of individuals and HUF, if the address for communication is selected as the office, when you make a PAN application, you have to mention address for communication. And if you mention such address as your office address, then you have to also provide proof of the office address along with the residential proof. अब जैसे PAN होता है वैसे there is a TAN number. What is a TAN? It's a TAN number is a tax deduction and collection account number. ये किसको obtain करना होता है? It has to be obtained by all the persons who are responsible for deducting or collecting tax, and again it is a alphanumeric 10-digit number. It is mandatory to code the tax deduction and collection account number, that is the TAN number allotted by the IT department on all the TDS returns. As mentioned earlier, it is a 10-digit alphanumeric code. Again, in TAN application also, either you can make an application for fresh issue of TAN in form 49B, or you can make an application for change or correction in data of TAN. Procedure to apply. You can apply for TAN number either physically or online. If you want to submit physical form, where do you get the form? You can get it from PINFC's office or any other vendors, or else you can download the form from the website. The applications once submitted, they are digitalized by NSDL, and from the NSDL, they are submitted to the Income Tax Department. Thereafter, the Income Tax Department will issue a TAN number, and it will be intimated to the NSDL again. And on this basis, NSDL will issue the TAN allotment letter to the applicant. You can also track the status of your TAN. You will get a 14-digit unique acknowledgement number. तो आपको वो acknowledgement number डाल के portal पे check कर सकते हो आपका TAN का status. Or else there is also facility for making call on the TIN call center, or you can send an SMS. The fees for processing the TAN application, मतलब new TAN or change in TAN, is ₹65, including GST charges. Now, what is GST? GST is a unique number from the concerned tax authority for the purpose of collecting tax on behalf of the government and to avail input tax credit for the tax on his upward supplies. So, GST number is also allotted to the individuals. This is a mechanism by which the government is able to collect all the taxes. Who is required to obtain GST? Section 22 of the Goods and Service Tax Act mandates that every person who has an aggregate turnover of sale of goods of more than 40 lakhs in any relevant financial year is liable to be registered under the Act. And for the northeastern states, the threshold limit is 20 lakh rupees. This is in case of sale of goods. What is the criteria? 40 lakh rupees turnover for the sale of goods. And in case of services, it is 20 lakh rupees. And in special service category, special categories, it is rupees 10 lakhs. Now, it is based on the turnover, right? So, the aggregate turnover under the Act includes all the taxable supplies, exempt supplies, zero rateable supplies, interstate supplies. It includes all kind of supplies except inward taxable supplies under the reverse chain mechanism. Also, registration is mandatory at every place of business from where the taxable supply has been made. Now, this GST is a PAN-based number, and it is state-specific. GST-IN, the number which is obtained under the GST Act is called GST-IN. It is 15-digit number. Unlike the TAN number and PAN number, which were 10-digit, GST-IN number is 15-digit, and it is a 15-digit number, and a certificate of registration incorporating the GST-IN is made available to the applicant upon the registration. Now, this is one important thing to remember, that because it is state-based, this GST-IN number is state-based. So, if a business entity is having branches in multiple states, then they will have to take state-wise registration with the for the GST-IN. But within one state, if it has multiple place of business, then it can keep one place of business as the principal place of business and others as the branch office, and then it can obtain only one GSTIN number in that particular state. Now, in these following cases, GST registration is compulsory for a supplier who makes interstate supplies, casual taxpayers, non-resident taxpayers, e-commerce operators, person discharging liability under reverse charge mechanism. In all these cases, compulsory, you have to obtain for a GSTIN number irrespective of aggregate turnover. The turnover criteria will not be applicable. Similarly, some persons are not liable to register under the Goods and Services Act, such as those persons who are exclusively engaged in supply of goods services which are not liable to tax or which are wholly exempt to tax. Agriculturalists को exempt है, and also there are some other specified categories which the government can notify. So the government can also specify for so and so persons GST registration is not applicable. So those persons are not liable to register for GSTIN number. What is the procedure for registration for GST? Within 30 days of the date on which he first becomes liable, or 5 days prior to the commencement of business, in case of casual or non-resident taxable person, such a person will have to apply for GST registration. If the concerned or GST officer does not take action within 3 days from the submission of application or within 7 days of receiving further clarification, the application will be considered as approved. And what will be the effective date of registration for GST? In case the application is submitted within 30 days of the person becoming to liable, the date on which such a person becomes liable to register, that will be taken as the date of registration. And if the application is submitted after 30 days from a person becoming liable to register, it shall be the date on which the registration is actually granted. Here there were two terms, casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person, who have to compulsory obtain GSTIN. Who are these now? Casual taxable person means, for example, there is a footwear dealer who is registered in Agra and he comes for an exhibition in Azad Maidan. So actually uska sirf business footwear ka dealing ka hai, but he just comes for a certain time to Mumbai, and there he is carrying out some supply of goods and services. Then he will have to apply as a casual taxable person in Mumbai for GSTIN number, and his GSTIN number will be valid only for maximum of 90 days. Similarly, non-resident taxable person will be, suppose a person from outside India comes to India for some particular exhibition, then that person will also have to apply for GSTIN in that particular state, and this such kind of registration will also be applicable only for 90 days. So these people have to mandatorily apply for GSTIN number. So the way you apply for registration, you can also apply for cancellation of registration. The proper officer may either by himself or an application from a registered person or his legal heirs in case of death, cancel or revoke the registration of such a person. So that was about GST. Now coming to the next important registration, that is under the Shops and Establishment Act. When you visit any shop, you will see there is one certificate which is displayed very prominently in almost all the shops and establishments. It is the registration certificate under the Shops and Establishment Act. And why it is required? It is an important regulation to which most of the businesses in India are subject, and it is designed to regulate payment of wages, hours of work, leaves, holidays, terms of services and other working condition. It is basically meant for the employees' benefit, this particular shop and establishment registration. And it is applicable to the persons who are employed in any shop or commercial establishment. Two words are used in this act, shops and establishment. What is an establishment? An establishment means commercial establishment, hotels, restaurants, eating houses, theatres, and other places of public entertainment or amusement. And the government may also specify some other list of establishments to be included. And what is a shop? Shop means, what do you understand by a shop? It means any place where any goods are sold or any services are rented. Also, shop includes a storeroom, godown, warehouse, or workplace whether in such same premises or otherwise used in connection with such a trade or business. However, a shop does not include a factory, commercial establishment, residential hotel, restaurant. So, जो establishment में included है, वो shop में included नहीं है. Apart from that, factory is also not included. If you would have studied in labor laws, factories के लिए अलग से factories act है. So that is why shops and establishment act में factories को cover नहीं किया गया. Now you have to obtain a license under the Shops and Establishment Act from the Chief Inspector for a shop and establishment within the prescribed time, and within that prescribed form you have to give the details of the establishment, employees, etc. Once the inspector finds it the application proper, they will issue a registration certificate, and such registration certificate has to be prominently, means it should be displayed properly at a proper place in the shop or establishment, and it has to be renewed periodically. Such registration certificate has to be renewed after 5 years. Communication of change to the inspector. In case there is any changes in the shops and establishment, you have to inform the chief inspector within 15 days of the change. Similarly, when you close a shop or an establishment, within 15 days of closing, you have to inform the inspector. Now there is another category called SSI MSME. Small scale industries are those industries in which the manufacturing, production and rendering of services are done on a small or a micro level. These industries make one-time investment in machinery, plants and industries, but it does not exceed 1 crore rupees. Those industries which manufacture, produce or render services with the help of small machine and small power. So this SSI, small scale industry or micro, small and medium enterprises, नाम से ही समझ आता है छोटे-छोटे businesses हैं जिनका one time investment होता है machinery, plants and industry में, but it does not exceed rupees 1 crore, and they are involved in manufacturing, production and rendering of services on a small or a micro level. So these are called as small scale industry or medium, micro and small industry. The government of India is encouraging these small, micro and medium enterprises with a lot of benefits. So any आपका कोई छोटा सा business है, तो you just have to apply for these registration. Once you get that MSME or SSI registration, you will be eligible for many of the government benefits. The process for registration of MSMEs in the name of Udyam registration has begun. They have given this MSME registration the name as Udyam Nigan with effect from 1st July 2020. During this COVID period, a new definition of MSMEs have been removed, and this definition makes the categorization into micro, small and medium units based on the investment and turnover. So those businesses, if investment is up to 1 crore and turnover is less than 5 crore, you will be called as micro units. Small units, if your investment is up to 10 crore and turnover is less than 50 crore. And medium units, if your investment is up to 20 crore and turnover is 100 crore. You have to remember these important definitions. And for each category of these units, different types of benefits are given by the government. Udyam registration process, it is linked with the PAN and GST. You can just go through this procedure once, how to register under MSME. As I mentioned earlier, small businesses having MSME registration enjoy various benefits under the MSME Act. And however, you have to remember that MSME registration is not necessary. Even if your business falls under this investment and turnover category, if you wish to apply for MSME, you may do that. And so what will be the benefit? You will get many government benefits in various areas once you register yourself. Like protection against delayed payment, etc. Means there is one rule as per the MSME Act that within 45 days, all the vendors will have to pay all the, if you're an MSME vendor and if you're selling some good or services, then your the customer has to make payment to you within 45 days. It is mandatory. So such kind of benefits are given to the MSMEs. Benefits of small, medium and micro registration. Government gives them various incentives. For micro and small enterprises, they will get easy bank loan facility. Then as I mentioned earlier, 45 days में उनके customers उनको pay करते हैं. Government tenders में उनको benefit है. Octroi benefits, stamp duty benefits, electricity bill benefit. It's like how the government helps startups. It's in similar way they help the MSMEs also. There are many exemptions also. They have statutory support. They get subsidies, means government allowances they get. Price preference they get. Lesser rate of interest for bank loans. Free cost of government tenders they will be eligible to. So these were the benefits for micro and small enterprise. But if you are a little bigger size, medium enterprises, then you have these following benefits. You will get easy finance from the banks. Government tenders again become easier. You will get reservations. And there will be a time-bound resolution of dispute with the banks. You can just read through the registration process for MSME. Your MSME registration is valid for 2 years, and after every 2 years, it has to be renewed. Various documents are to be submitted by the MSMEs at the time of fresh registration. You can just read through once. Electricity bills hota hai, your balance sheet have to be there, your accounts have to be audited, your result of operations, bankers का एक report होता है, PAN card copy होता है, basic कुछ भी registration के लिए जब apply करते हैं जो documents required होते हैं. And in case of partnership forms, उनका partnership deed होता है extra. Company हुआ तो उनका memorandum article of association, directors के name, certificate of incorporation that will be required. Cooperative society होता है तो society के जो भी bylaws है, certificates है, वो सब आपको additional submit करने पड़ते हैं. Renewal के time पे क्या submit करना चाहिए आपको documents वो इधर mention है. Next category, government has started this NSIC registration. Now, what is this NSIC registration? It is also connected with this Udyam Aadhar memorandum only. It is required to be renewed once in 2 years. National Small Industry Corporation enlists small scale units as competent to undertake supply of various items to the government. So ये NSIC registration क्यों start किया गया है? To give benefits to certain small scale business units to undertake supply. They will do supplies of goods and services to the government. The registered units are extended various facilities so as to promote their participation and consequently enhance the share in the government purchases. What are the benefits? You will get free cost of tenders. You will be exempt for payment of earnest money deposit. Tenders में उनको benefit रहता है. There are various benefits to the SSIs. And these are the eligible criteria of the persons or the businesses who can register for NSIC registration. You can apply for NSIC registration. Who can apply? Micro and small enterprises. They have to apply on nsicproline.com for their registration and they have to pay the prescribed registration fees. Now there's next category of registration called as employee state insurance. What is employee state insurance? It is a self-financing scheme for Indian workers जो basically जो employees होता है उनके health and insurance schemes को cover करता है. It is covered under the Ministry of Labour and Employment of India, and this act monitors the provision of cash and medical, the ESI Act or the Employee State Insurance Act 1948. It makes provisions for cash and medical benefits for the employees and their families through a competitive network of hospitals and dispensaries throughout India. This employee state insurance registration is beneficial both to the employers and the employees. Now, who have to apply for ESIC registration? Any employer who is having more than 10 employees mandatory has to apply for this registration in form number 1. And various documents they have to submit. Registration for the employees. At the time of joining any organization, the employee has to fill this declaration form 1 along with the family photo, and which will be submitted to by the employer to the ESI branch office. But there is a certain wage limit under ESI registration. What is it? Employees earning 21,000 rupees INR per month or less are only applicable for this ESI contribution. And so the employees who are earning more wages will not get this benefit. And if the employee has got disability, then this limit is extended to rupees 25,000 per month. Matlab, for the employees earning 25,000 per month, if they have disability, then they will be eligible for this ESI benefit. And इसमें क्या होता है? There will be a certain contribution, 1.75% of the total salary of the employees, and employer's contribution is more. It is 4.75% of the total wages. ये दोनों use होगा for the insurance of the employees. An establishment with less than 20 employees can also voluntarily offer PF registration. However, companies with more than 20 employees have to compulsorily register for EPF or Employee State Provident Fund. That was ESI. Now this is Employee State Provident Fund. ESI में 10 employees का criteria था और EPF में 20 employees का criteria है. So also similar to ESI. इसमें भी various documents are required to be submitted. Company है तो memorandum article of association COI will be required. Partnership deed will be required in case of partnership forms. Cooperative society में registration certificate will be required. HUF में partition deeds will be required. You can just read through this. Now there is a next category called FCRA registration. FCRA क्या होता है? Basically all these non-profit organizations such as Being Human. Say for example Being Human. If it requires money from abroad, then how? ऐसे ही वो किसी से भी foreign से पैसे नहीं ले सकता. They will have to apply for FCRA registration. Such a non-profit organization will have to be in existence for a minimum of 5 years, and they will have to take prior government approval for receiving funds from foreign in the way of contribution. And such registration should have spent at least rupees 10 lakhs in last 3 years towards its objectives. जो non-profit organization का जो objective है, उन्होंने pursue करने में at least rupees 10 lakhs spend करना होना चाहिए for the previous 3 years. And for that they have to give statements of income and expenditure certified by the chartered accountant when they are applying for this foreign contribution registration. The various criteria for grant of FCRA. किसी को भी FCRA registration certificate नहीं मिलेगा. You have to fall under these particular criteria. Applying for FCRA. FCRA के लिए apply आपको form FC3 में करना है और उसके साथ various documents you have to submit. Now for pollution. Any person who is setting up a business, they have to apply also for pollution clearances. Around 30 types of projects are there for which environmental clearances are required. However, if the investment is less than 1,000 million, then such clearance is not required, except for pesticide business. ये सब already hazardous business होता है, asbestos, mining projects, तो इनको करना ही पड़ेगा apply for pollution clearances के लिए. But अगर otherwise, if your investment is less than 1,000 million, then you are not required to apply for pollution clearances. Further, any item in small scale sector with an investment of less than 50 millions is not applicable or is not required to obtain for environmental clearances from the central government. Also, there are certain ecologically fragile areas. They are separately guided by the government through the guidelines issued by the Ministry of Environment of Government of India. इसके अलावा और क्या registration आपके ध्यान में आता है? Importer Exporter Code. It is a 10-digit code. अगर किसको भी import export का business करना है, तो they have to apply to the DGFT or the Directorate General of Foreign Trade for obtaining importer exporter code. इसका एक main benefit है, it has got lifetime validity. बाकी सब जो भी registration होते हैं वो आपको renew करते रहने पड़ते हैं. But importer exporter code में ऐसे नहीं है, one time only you have to apply. जो भी importer exporter होगा वो कुछ भी inward या outward supply कर रहा होगा outside or inside India, then they have to submit and code their importer exporter code. Say for example customs वगैरह में Even the banks are required. Banks का तो बहुत सारे foreign में dealing होता है, तो they also have to apply for importer exporter code. एप्लीकेशन किसको करना है इंपोर्टर एक्सपोर्टर कोड के लिए? जोनल एंड रीजनल ऑफिस ऑफ डीजीएफटी को अप्लाई करना है और ये सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स उसके साथ सबमिट करना है. फीचर्स ऑफ इंपोर्टर एक्सपोर्टर कोड रजिस्ट्रेशन, इंटरनेशनल एक्सपोजर, यू कैन ग्रो योर बिजनेस. ऑब्वियसली आप इंपोर्टर एक्सपोर्टर कोड के लिए अप्लाई कर रहे हो तो यू विल हैव बिजनेस इन फॉरेन, यू विल गेट वेरियस गवर्नमेंट बेनिफिट्स. रिन्यूअल रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है एज मेंशन्ड अर्लियर, प्लस कोई एनुअल कंप्लायंसेस भी नहीं है. An individual person can also apply for importer exporter code. आप एक individual हो, आप कुछ foreign से import या export कर रहे हो, तो you can also apply for importer exporter code license. Now next is drug license. Drug license, if you're starting a pharmacy business, then you have to apply for a drug license, and it is regulated by the Central Drug Standard Organization. स्टेट एंड सेंट्रल लेवल पे इनके ड्रग कंट्रोल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस होते हैं. दे इशू द लाइसेंसेस फॉर इशूइंग ड्रग्स. एंड यूजुअली दो टाइप का बिजनेस होता है इसमें. रिटेल ड्रग लाइसेंस होता है, होलसेल ड्रग लाइसेंस होता है. देन देयर आर सर्टेन मिनिमम रिक्वायरमेंट्स फॉर ऑब्टेनिंग ड्रग लाइसेंसेस और स्टार्टिंग अप अ फार्मेसी बिजनेस इन इंडिया. उनका एरिया का रिक्वायरमेंट होता है मिनिमम 10 स्क्वायर मीटर का इनका एरिया होना चाहिए. दे शुड हैव प्रॉपर स्टोरेज फैसिलिटी. जैसे थोड़े जो वैक्सीन्स वगैरह होते हैं, ड्रग्स होते हैं, इंजेक्शंस होते हैं, यू हैव टू हैव अ प्रॉपर स्टोरेज एरिया फैसिलिटी फॉर देम. देन यू शुड हैव टेक्निकल स्टाफ दे हु शुड बी knowledgeable in the pharmacy business. Documents required for obtaining drug license. Drug license में आपको ये बहुत सारा उनका business related disclosures and all देना चाहिए होता है, including details of all the drugs and all that you are going to use, manufacture, supply, and also the details of the premises, etc. You have to give various affidavits also when you start a pharmacy business. Now there is a FSSAI, which is abbreviation for Food Safety and Standard Authority of India. कुछ भी फूड बिजनेस स्टार्ट कर रहे हो तो आपको एक 14 डिजिट रजिस्ट्रेशन और लाइसेंस नंबर obtain करना पड़ता है, which has to be quoted on the food packages. Now two things are there. One is FSSAI registration and one is FSSAI license. जो नॉर्मल हॉकर्स वगैरह होते हैं रास्ते पे, जो वेजिटेबल वेंडर्स वगैरह होते हैं, they don't do it, but actually they have to apply for FSSAI registration. Petty food hawkers, food business operators have to apply for this registration. And अगर आपका business बड़ा है, if you are into big food businesses, then you have to obtain for FSSAI license. You can just read through once. ये exactly opposite है of the FSSAI registration. Now they have explained here the various different kinds of business, food business line, and what documents they have to apply for FSSAI registration. तो अगर डेयरी का बिजनेस है तो यू हैव टू अपलोड अ पिक्चर, और जहाँ पे आप काम कर रहे हो आपका ब्लूप्रिंट, आपका प्लान क्या होगा, डायरेक्टर्स के नाम, आप क्या इक्विपमेंट्स यूज कर रहे हो, फोटो आईडी प्रूफ, proof of possession of the premises, partnership deed, source of milk, nomination person. ये सब you can just read through. Most of the points are common only in this, and rest will be industry specific. तो कोई भी business unit है तो आपका क्या plan होगा, आप उसको कैसे चलाओगे, आपके कौन वहाँ पे काम करते हैं, nomination forms, ID proofs, contact details, all that will be required. Meat processing units are there, vegetable oil processing units, packer और repackers क्या submit करेंगे, relaborer क्या submit करेंगे, all different kinds of businesses, food businesses are given, and उनको क्या क्या submit करना है ये आप सिर्फ एक बार glance through कर सकते हो. Mostly all common points are only there, and then there are specific business के लिए कुछ specific points are there. Then just read through all this. Okay. Now next week there will be trademarks, patents, copyrights, designs. ये आपने you would have studied somewhere. So trademarks क्या होते हैं? They are, trademark means the name of the business. Say for example Puma. So it is a brand name. Okay, so it is, you can register as a trademark so that nobody else uses the word food, for example. Now these trademarks, they are regulated under the Trademark Act 1999, and there are various rules under that. The objective of Trademark Act is to register the trademark applied for a country and to provide greater protection of trademark for goods and services, and also to prevent fraudulent use of mark. आप आपके बिजनेस को कोई पर्टिकुलर नाम देते हो, उस आइडेंटिटी, वो नेम को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए यू विल अप्लाई फॉर ट्रेडमार्क रजिस्ट्रेशन अंडर द ट्रेडमार्क एक्ट. इसका प्रोसेस क्या होता है? यू हैव टू अप्लाई फॉर रजिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ ट्रेडमार्क, देन वन एप्लीकेशन नंबर विल बी गिवन टू द अलॉटी. फिर उसका स्कैन होता है कि एग्जिस्टिंग ट्रेडमार्क तो नहीं है ना वो नेम का. फिर या तो फिर वो एक्सेप्ट हो जाता है ट्रेडमार्क, या ऑब्जेक्ट होता है. अगर ऑब्जेक्ट होता है तो आपकी एक शो कॉज हियरिंग होती है. अगर वो रिफ्यूज हो गया तो आप अपील कर सकते हो, अदरवाइज योर ट्रेडमार्क विल बी एक्सेप्टेड. Forms and fees, prescribed forms are given for under the Trademark Act and the rules for making trademark application. Then there is copyrights. Copyrights मतलब आप अगर कोई बुक्स वगैरह लिख रहे हो तो उसके लिए you will apply for copyright. Movies में होता है copyrights. It is governed by the Copyright Act 1957 and it got amended several times. ये सब उनके amendments के बारे में लिखा हुआ है. Procedure for trademark registration. Application has to be made in the prescribed form of the copyright rules, and separate application has to be made for each kind of copyright, and it has to be accompanied by the requisite fees. The applicant also has to submit a वकालतनामा or power of attorney. Time for processing application. आपने एक बार trademark के लिए apply कर दिया, you will get a diary number and you have to mandatorily wait for 30 days. So that no objection is filed in the Copyright Office against the claim of that particular work is created by the client. So you will apply for copyright registration. For 30 days के लिए you have to wait objections के लिए. अगर objection receive होता है, you have to reply for the objections. No objection है तो फिर आपको trademark का copyright का certificate मिल जाएगा. अगर objection है तो फिर hearing होगा and accordingly the process will be taken ahead and you will be given copyright registration. Both published and unpublished works, या तो लिखा हुआ published work or unpublished work can be registered under the Copyright Act. Also, computer software or programming also has been included under literary works, and that can also be registered under the Copyright Act. Various fees have been prescribed under the copyright rules for copyright registration. Now, third category is patents. जो startups होती है, they have various patents. मतलब a particular process which they want to protect, so they will get it registered. Filing of patent application. Patents के लिए application आपको form 1 में submit करना होता है. उसके साथ आपको और अलग-अलग details देनी पड़ती है. You can just read through once. Next is designs. अगर आपकी कोई specific design है, आप उसको भी protect कर सकते हैं under the Design Act. An application for registration of design should be submitted along with four specimen copy. आपको 4 copies देनी है आपकी design की, and you have to give a statement of novelty. मतलब आपका design क्यों unique है, that you have to mention in the statement of novelty. And you can also give additional specimens of your design. Design के लिए आप registration के लिए apply करते हो, तभी you have to firstly give copies of your disclaimers, affidavits, declarations, public documents. Can also be made available on payment of fees. Now, next kind of registration is NBFC licenses with RBI. This NBFC topic is already covered in lesson number 8, on which I have already uploaded a video. You can just go through. उसमें मैंने बहुत अच्छे से and deep in depth NBFCs के बारे में explain किया है. So you can take up this particular topic out there. All this thing is covered in that particular video. So NBFCs will get covered there. Now we are going to take up the banking. So the banks, they have to register under the Banking Regulation Act. No company can carry out banking business in India unless it holds a license issued by the RBI, Reserve Bank of India, for a bank. And every bank which is in existence at the commencement of its act before expiry of 6 months from such commencement, and every other company before commencing banking business shall apply to the Reserve Bank in writing for a license. हर एक बैंक को license के लिए apply करना होता है with the Reserve Bank of India to start any banking business. And before granting any banking business license, Reserve Bank will satisfy itself of the following conditions. You can just read through these. They have to be satisfied that you will be capable to carry out the banking business. क्योंकि इतने सारे लोग उनके मनी आपके ऊपर ट्रस्ट करके रखेंगे, तो obviously there will be many points which will be checked by the RBI before giving you the license. Next होता है insurance companies. They are regulated by the IRDA or the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority, IRDIA. It has got various functions. They will protect the interests of the insurance companies and the insurance holders. Procedure for granting of license to companies to start insurance business. No person can start insurance business unless they have obtained a certificate from the IRDA for a particular kind of insurance business. You have to take insurance business-wise license. For particular type of insurance, like fire insurance के लिए अलग license होगा, marine insurance के लिए अलग license होगा. Procedure for obtaining registration under IRDA Act is you have to submit your MOA, AOA, then the name, address, and occupation of the directors, a statement which class of insurance business you will do, and a statement indicating that the sources that will contribute to the share capital. Basic information कोई भी business का you need to do. ये सारे documents आपको required है, you can just read. So once you apply to the IRDA for your insurance registration, they can either refuse it or they can suspend the license, suspend the registration, or they may also cancel giving the certificate of registration. So these are the various terms. कभी वो refuse कर सकते हैं registration, suspend कर सकते हैं, cancel कर सकते हैं, or they can revive the registration which is cancelled. You just have to read all these. Now telecom industries जो होती है, they are regulated by TRAI or the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. So basically all your broadcasting telecom business TVs वगैरह they are regulated by TRAI. सर्विस प्रोवाइडर्स का डेफिनेशन क्या है? सर्विस प्रोवाइडर्स लाइक टेली बैंकिंग, टेली मेडिसिन, टेली एजुकेशन, कोई भी टीवी आईटी रिलेटेड जो होते हैं, आईटी एनेबल्ड सर्विसेज, दे हैव टू ऑब्टेन दिस. They will be covered under the category OSP registration. Other service provider basically. ये other service provider category को भी registration के लिए apply करना पड़ता है. And this registration is valid for 20 years. And they have to apply, they have to submit annual report, annual returns to the Department of Telecommunications. INB, Economic Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. This is a ministry which is the apex body for formulation and administration of rules and regulations and laws relating to broadcasting and press and films के लिए ये economic ministry है. Then industrial license. So when you are starting any business, only very few kinds of business they require industrial license. What they're saying at present, most of the industries are exempt from having a license. They're only required to file an industrial and entrepreneur memorandum. However, there are still a few sectors which ought to have a license before commencing operations or before starting production. ये कौन से type of business होते हैं? Industries relating under compulsory licensing. जिनको compulsory license है उनको तो industrial license के लिए apply करना ही है. उसके अलावा manufacture of items reserved for small scale industry. अगर small scale sector के लिए जो reserved है वो कोई बड़ी company करने लगेगा वो business, they have to apply for industrial license. एंड अगर कोई लोकेशन रिस्ट्रिक्शन है, आप ये एरिया में काम नहीं कर सकते, आपको फिर भी वहीं पे काम करना है, देन यू हैव टू अप्लाई फॉर इंडस्ट्रियल लाइसेंस. Which are these are various kinds of industries which need to compulsory apply for industrial license. Alcoholic drinks अगर आप manufacture कर रहे हो, tobacco related, electronic aerospace equipments अगर आप कर रहे हो, industrial explosives या hazardous chemicals, in such cases you have to apply for industrial licenses. Small scale sector, setting up a manufacturing industry in certain sector is reserved only for MSMEs. अगर आप MSME का business करने चाहो, then you have to apply for small scale sector registration. यहाँ पे criteria दिए गई है, which criteria of companies will have to apply for small scale industrial license. You can just read through once. Also there are locational restriction. Setting in जो there are locational restriction. अगर आप इन restrictions को if you are restricted and still you want to do their business, then you have to apply for industrial license. Like setting up of any industry within 25 kilometers of a city which has a population of 10 lakh requires industrial license. अगर इतना populated place है और वहाँ पे within 25 kilometers आपको अगर आपका business setup करना है, तो you have to apply for a industrial license. As mentioned earlier, normally only industrial entrepreneur memorandum is to be obtained by the businesses. What is the meaning of this? It's an application for acknowledgement of a unit. अगर आप कोई भी नया बिजनेस इंडस्ट्रियल अंडरटेकिंग स्टार्ट कर रहे हो या उसका एक्सपेंशन कर रहे हो या न्यू आर्टिकल मैन्युफैक्चर कर रहे हो, or if you want to carry on the business of small scale industrial units after graduating into large scale industry, so in this cases you have to obtain for IEM. The application has to be made to the government of India along with a DD of ₹1000 in the name of SIA or the Secretariat of Industrial Assistance, New Delhi, with 6 copies. इसके बाद ये जो SIA, it will give you acknowledgement receipt. Once you have received that, you can start your business. Now there are various categories of pollution making industries and उनको क्या-क्या licenses के लिए apply करना है. उसमें green category है, orange category है, ordinary red category है, special red category है. And according to this category, they have given the applicability कि आपको किसको license के लिए apply करना है with respect to the pollution. Yeah, so that's about it. I hope you all enjoyed the video and I hope you will gain knowledge from this video.